Hey guys, I'm on Freecodecamp. Today we're going to be doing search and replace. We're in the intermediate algorithm scripting. Let's click on this and let's read the directions. Perform a search and replace on the sentence using the arguments provided and return the new sentence. First argument is the sentence to perform the search and replace on. Second argument is the word that you will be replacing before. Third argument is what you will be replacing in the second argument with after. Note: preserve the case of the first character in the original word when you are replacing it. For example, if you mean to replace the word book with the word lowercase dog, it should be replaced as capital case dog. Let's look at a couple of these examples. First, let me bring this over to my code editor. And notice we have three parameters. So the first one, called string, is the one that we're going to perform the search and replace on. Before it is a string that we are searching for, and after is what we're going to replace the before string with. And here is the important part right here. Pretty much my interpretation of this is if this before string is lowercase, the 0th index, the first character, then we're gonna make this after the replacing string a lowercase too. If this was capitalized, the first letter, then the first letter of our replacing string will also be capitalized. So let's take care of that first. Let's go over here, get rid of this for now. And I am gonna define a variable called is capitalized. I am checking to see if my before string, this before string, is capitalized in the first character or not. And the way that we will do that is we're first going to declare a variable, a Boolean variable, saying that this is capitalized. And this will be true if we grab the 0th index of before, which happens to be the first character of the string, and we have to check to see if this is capitalized or not. Now, probably the easiest way, in my opinion, is to do this. This has to be greater or equal to the string capital letter A, and it has to be less than or equal to the capital letter Z. This is saying if it's in between capital A to capital Z, then it's true, meaning it is capitalized. Otherwise, if this is not true, that means it's not capitalized. All right, now let's get the changing of the case of our after string taken care of right now so that we don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm gonna declare a new variable called cased after. What that means is I have properly either uppercased the after string, the first letter of the after string, or lowercased it, depending on what the value of this is capitalized Boolean is. So we will say, there's a couple ways to do this. I'm just gonna assume that, what's the best way? I'm gonna use the let variable is cased after. And I'm not gonna define it right now. I'm gonna define it within an if condition. That's why I'm using let, because I'm gonna define it later. If is capitalized, if that is true, remember, if I just have a Boolean inside the if, it's the same thing as saying, is this true or not? So if that is true, then our cased after is going to be, we are gonna capitalize the first character and everything else just stays put. So to grab the first character of the after string is just after at index 0 plus we want the rest of the string. Now we could use a substring method of a string, and we give in required starting number or index and an optional ending index. So we want to start at the first index because we want to skip the 0th index, and we want to go to the end. So we don't have to provide an end, optional end parameter. We could just leave it like that and you will get everything to the end. So this is what we do if, we're supposed to capitalize the first character too. So what we want here is we want to use another string method called to uppercase, sorry about that, to uppercase. And this will capitalize the 0th character of the string. Now, else, if it is not capitalized, then we want to lowercase it. So I'm just going to grab this and make this to lowercase. There we go. So from now on, we're not going to be using this after string. We're going to be using the cased after string because this one has already taken care of the casing of the first letter. All right, let's continue reading. Now we have to go about replacing the before string within our first parameter and replace it with the cased after. So probably the easiest way to do this is to use the string replace method. So what we do is we get the, let's do this, const replaced string. This is what we're gonna return at the end. We're gonna use the replace method on string on our first parameter. And what goes inside is the first one is the search value, what we're searching for, and the second value is what we're replacing it with. So we are searching for before and we are replacing it not with after, but with our cased after. And right after that, we return replace string. Now, when I was doing this, I was thinking about does this replace method find the first occurrence, or does it only replace the first occurrence, or does it replace all occurrence of this string? Let's read this real quick. Method returns a new string with some or all matches of a pattern replaced by replacement. So I think it will replace every, so if we found this one more than once, I think it will replace it more than once. Hey guys, Justin from the future here. I just realized that I completely read this wrong. So it actually says that if pattern is a string, only the first occurrence will be replaced. So I completely read this wrong. So let me show you guys what this means. So I thought this initially meant that it will replace all occurrence, but it's actually, it will only replace the first occurrence. So let me show you guys with this example I have here. I'm on JSBin. It's just some random lyrics I found on the web. And I want to replace it. I see a couple of dances here. I want to replace dance. Let me first do words.replace. I want to replace dance with sing. Let's see what happens when we do this. Now we're getting some errors for some reason. Replace dance with string. Not sure why. Okay, so ignore this. I don't know why there is an error, but pretty much it replaced it first for the first occurrence and they ignore the other occurrences. So replace method, if you use a string for your replacer here, it will only replace the first occurrence. So this is not what we want. If you wanted to replace all occurrence, what they say is, since if pattern is a string, only the first occurrence will be replaced. So if you want to replace all of them, you have to use a regex, regular expression, which is a way of pattern matching strings. So let's look at this example here, and I will explain what this means. So what we can do to replace dance for all occurrence using regex is, first, all regex must be encapsulated in 2 forward slashes like this. And we just want to match the word dance. Now they have this GI here. G means, before I add those, let's just try this. What happens when we just put our regular expression with dance and then replace it with sing? Clear it. And again, if you see here, it only replaced the first occurrence. So how do we use regular expression to grab every single occurrence? The way that we do that is to add the global identifier at the end with G, like so. Let me clear the console and show you guys again. See, now we can see they replace all occurrence. And just for your information, although this is not really part of our assignment, if you were ever wondering what this I is for this. Let me capitalize this first dance and see what happens if I do this. Notice the first dance, because it's capital and technically not the same as this, it doesn't replace it. But if you want to grab all occurrence of dance, case insensitive, then you will put I for case insensitive. Let's see if that works, and you replace it. So this is how you would use, you would do a global replace using the replace method. Back to the video. But one thing I don't like about this question, and if this was an interview, I would ask them this: do they want us to replace the first occurrence, or do they want us to replace all occurrence? So because they're not explicit in what they want us to do, I'm going to assume that they want us to replace it in all occurrence. So notice we're getting a squiggly line here, and that is because declaring this variable and immediately returning right after is redundant. So instead, we could just cut this out and return that right away. Now, let's see if Freecodecamp is happy with this. Let's bring this over here, run the test, and we pass. Now, let's do some refactoring. As a matter of fact, no, sorry. Before we do some refactoring, if this was a whiteboard problem when you were interviewing, you might not remember this replace method. So if we don't want to rely on this replace method, what will we do? As a matter of fact, even if you did remember this replace method, you might be thinking to yourself, oh, did this method replace all occurrence, or did it replace one occurrence? So these are the dilemmas you may have during a whiteboard interview. So if that was the case, we could refactor this. Instead of using replace, we could do a traditional for loop to basically do the same behavior. So let's try that right now. We have two for loops that we could use. We could either use a traditional for loop or we could use a for of loop. So if you remember from my previous videos, the benefit of a for of loop, in my opinion, is a lot cleaner to read. However, we don't have access to the index. Now for this one, we probably need the access to the index. So I'm going to use a traditional for loop. So let's do for let I is 0. And what am I looping through? I'm looping through our string. As a matter of fact, before that, I want to declare a string variable called replace string. And what this is going to be is first going to start out as string, but we're going to be replacing stuff whenever we find our before string within our string. We're going to replace it with our after string. So we are going to make that this variable replace string. So we're going to be using this from now. Let's do let I is equal to 0 and I is less than replace string now. That length and I plus plus. So again, after we do all the replacing, at the end we're going to return replace string like so. Now let's think about what we have to do. As we go through our string, we have to see if starting from the current index that we are on, go the same length of our before string, in our case 6, and grab 6 characters. I think that's that much. And compare this string with our before string. So how would we do that? We are going to use the substring method of a string, and we will do this. So what should we call? I'm going to make a new variable. What should we call this? I'm just going to call it the I string for the current index string. Const I string is equal to getting our replace string. We're going to grab the substring of it, starting from our current index, which is I, and we're going to grab 6 characters from I. So the way that we will do that is to I plus our before string, the length of it. Now, how do I know that this will grab the substring that we want in order to compare with our before string? So starting from the beginning, it will be from 0, which is this, and end, but not include. Remember, so the second parameter of a substring is the part that you want to start excluding. In our case, it will be 0 plus 6, so that's 6. So let's go to 6 index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we don't include the n, and this is what we're grabbing. So it seems to work. Now, if you're still not confident, as you might be, what you can do is test it out. So I'm gonna comment this out, comment that out, and I'm just gonna console log whatever this may be. Let's not use replace string for here. We'll just use the typical string instead of using i's because they're not defined. Let's do that. And I want to console log what this is. We get a quick, remember space is just part of a string, so that's 2 and 6. That seems to work in the beginning. What about some random index? Not 145, how about 15? Will it grab me, starting from the 15th index, will it grab me 6 characters? And it appears that we did get 6 characters, so that seems to be working. So that is good. Let's erase our console log, uncomment these. There we go. So now that we have our current iteration string, iString, let's compare that to our before string. If iString is equal to before string, then we want to perform a replace. So what do we want to do? We want to change our replace string. And that is why I defined it as a replace string, because we are replacing it every single time we have an occurrence of this. What do we want to do? We want to grab everything before our current index. Let's say our current index was here. Grab everything before, and then, in our example, it will be this. Replace our before with our case after, and then grab everything after that. So this is going to be pretty hard. The first string that we want is everything up to the index that we are currently on. So replace string is going to equal to replace string substring from the 0th index, and we want to go all the way to the current index that we are on. If we were in this J, we're in this current index here. So remember, the second parameter of a substring is the index that you want to start excluding. So you will not include this. So we just go to that index like so. So this will give us all of this string here. Now, instead of using this string, we want to replace it with our case after string. So plus case after string. Remember, again, we're using case after because that takes care of the whether it's a capitalized letter, a word, or a lowercase word. Now, once we have done that, we want to grab everything after that. So which index is this one right here? And this index is actually starting from our ith index. We just move over the length of our before string. So again, we're getting replace string, and let me bring this down. Replace string, a substring of it, starting from the index of where we're currently at, and then getting the before that length. And we just want to grab everything after that, like so. Hopefully that made sense. And let's do another console log here just to make sure that what we are doing here is indeed correct. So I'm gonna, do I want to count what index this is? Yeah, why not? So let's do, I just want to see what index this J is. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So this is the 18th index. So let's see what this gives us. 18th index. Console log. Replace those with string. Go to the 18th index. Let's see if this gives us what we want. And of course we get an error because we commented out the replace string. It doesn't know where it is anymore, so we just want to cancel that out. A quick brown fox leaped over the lazy dog. So it seems to work. And just to show you guys that this indeed the third part of it is the after the where is it? After the jumped. Let's see if that is true. Yep, we have a space and then over the lazy dog. So this part gives us after the string that we replaced. Let's put this back in. Now, if we were just replacing it one time, then once we do this, we could just break out of the loop and replace the replace string. As a matter of fact, we could just do a return here, like return this. But because we may have more than one instance of the string that we're replacing, because the questions are clear about that, we have to keep on going and keep on searching to make sure that there isn't more strings that we have to replace. So here comes a question. Once we have replaced it, let's say we were here, we were in this index, I already forgot what index that was. We replaced this jumped with leaped. Now, do we continue? So now the string that we have is this. Let me show you. We have this now, and we were just at this index. Do we just continue going on from the next index like nothing happened? We can, because there's nothing that needs to be replaced here, because it's never gonna equal this part. But that's a little bit redundant. We're wasting some time by just performing a search on the part that we just replaced again. So why not have our I index jump all the way to the end of where we were at? Meaning I want to jump to this one after I have done this replace. That way, after we are done with whatever we're doing, we go back to the for loop, we add one to our index, because that always happens at the end, and then we continue on. Meaning we were here, we added one, now we are at this index here. So that's what I want to do. So how do we go from this index to this index? So this was, let's say this was, I don't know, 10th index. Was it 16? Oh, we'll just say 16. Doesn't really matter. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. We want to go to the 21st index, which is 5 more, if I did my math correctly. So the way that we will do that is this. After we have replaced it, we're going to say I is equal to I. We're actually going to edit add to I. What we're going to do is we're going to add to I the length of the string that we replaced it with. No, sorry. The length of the after, because we replaced it with some other word. We care about the length of that character, which is cased after, but we want to subtract 1 because we don't want to be here. We want to be here so that the for loop takes over, and once we're done with this iteration, it does I++, and then it puts us at the place that we want to be. So let's do that. And just to show you guys where we are at, where the I is at, I'm gonna console log here, replace string, substring, starting from our new I index. I'm gonna show you guys, because we know it's gonna go inside this if condition only one time for this string, specifically at this index. And then I'm gonna show you guys where I is after. D over the lazy dog. So it was here, and after we will skip this because the when we get to the end, it does I++, and we will start at this index, and that's what we want. That's good. Now let's see if that works. I gotta console log this. There we go. So it seems to work. So this is how I would do it if you have forgotten the replace method. Let's do some refactoring. So notice we have this if condition. We declare the case after here. We did this if condition. If it's capitalized, we do this. Otherwise, we do this. We could just replace this with a ternary operator. Inline if else condition. And what we can do is we could say const case after is gonna be if is capitalized, we want this, or if it's not capitalized, we want that. So we could replace this whole if else condition with a ternary operator like so. Now, notice within this ternary operator, it looks a little nasty. Let me try to make it a bit more pretty, presentable. Notice we got this repeating part right here. The only thing that's changing is this part, the first character of the string. So we could refactor this even more, although some people may say that this is not readable, which I might agree with actually. Put a parentheses. If it's capitalized, make the first character uppercase, otherwise make it lowercase. Put a closing parentheses to this parentheses in the beginning, and then go about our usual business of adding the after string, thus the rest of the string, like so. To pretty this up, let's just do this. If it's capitalized, do uppercase, otherwise to lowercase, close parentheses, and then after substring, like so. So again, this may not be pretty to some people, but it is one way of doing things. Now, another thing that we could do is to check, instead of doing this, we could use regex. So regular expression is, just to recap, it finds patterns in a string. So we could say is capitalized if the regex that we are looking for is, our regex are always surrounded by 2 4 slashes, and the characters that we are interested in is gonna be within A to Z. So I am putting this square brackets because once you put a square bracket in a regex, we are saying inside is all the characters that we are interested in finding. So we are going to test. Test is a method of a regular expression in JavaScript. And we are going to test the first character of our before string, like so. So if the before character string is included within A to Z, meaning it's a capital letter, then this will become true. Otherwise, it will become false. So if you are comfortable with regex, this is another way to do it. Now, notice we have declared this is capitalized variable, and immediately after, we only use it once. So we could replace this part with that. That will make it slightly shorter. Now let's replace this back with what we had before using the replace method. So we are going to do, and we don't need to even define it because we're just going to return it right after. So let's do string replace the string that we're searching for is before, and what we're replacing it with case after, like so. Let's see if that works. Yep, a quick brown fox leaped over the lazy dog. Now, if you're like me, I like arrow functions, so I'm going to replace this with an arrow function, like so. Now, I'm going to do something that is not pretty, but if you just wanted to shorten this for whatever reason, I don't know, to show off or whatever, although this is not recommended, we can just replace this case after with this whole thing here, like so. And because technically this is all just one expression here, it's not multi-line, it's just one expression, we could, because we're using an arrow function, we could replace this curly brace with, and the return with just that. Now let's make this a bit more pretty. I don't think that's possible, to be honest. We could do that. No, that's nasty. We could put parentheses there, put it there, put an enter there, and if we're testing, let's put that there. No, sorry. Let's grab that there. If this or that, and then we add it, and we put a space there, enter there. That seems to work. Let's submit this. And that works. Hey, Justin here again. So remember, this solution right here, we will only replace the first occurrence of the word of the string before whatever variable that may be. If you want to replace all occurrence using kind of this shorthand notation, so we have to use regular expression. So how do we use regular expression here when we have a variable instead of a string literal? So we can't do this, because then it's gonna look for, and I need a G here to replace all of them. I can't do this because then it's gonna look for the word before, not the variable, not what the string that's contained within the variable before. So we can't do this either, kind of like pretending that it's ES6. We can't do this either because it thinks it's gonna search for this character, this tick mark here. Regex doesn't know that this is the ES6 way of writing things. So one way I thought about doing this is I am on this Stack Overflow right here. And another way to define regular expression, not using the dashes, is to use the new regex constructor. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I'll just call it a constructor. So we will put it here, new capital R regex, and we will put our regular expression here. So within here, we could use ES6. Whoops. Within here, we could use ES6, and I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna look for the word before. And as a matter of fact, because we're only, no, I will do it like this. Like so. And I'm not sure how we could put the G identifier after, but let's just see if this works for now. A quick brown fox leaped over the lazy dog, so that's good. And let me add one more occurrence. It's not gonna work, but let me just try. Jumped. Yeah, so it did not replace this occurrence. So to put the global identifier to grab our second instance, the where we put that is we just put a second parameter to this new regex constructor, and we just put gstring here. Let's see if that worked. And it replaced the first one, and we replaced the second one. So this is what you would do if you wanted to use regular expression to replace everything. Hey, thanks so much for joining me again in this Freecodecamp algorithm. Today we did the search and replace, and tomorrow we'll be doing the DNA pairing. So please stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't. Please like this video, leave some comments below. And I'm releasing on the weekdays these algos, so please stay tuned. And on weekends, I'm releasing some fun projects for us to do. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time.